Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk a little bit about Star Citizen's beta. So there have been a lot of rumors being spread around about the Persistent Universe Star Citizen's MMO version getting a release date sometime in 2025. Okay, and with that information, it has been leaked that the team CIG wants to target release of 5 systems. Okay, so that has kind of led to a lot of speculation about what the 5-star systems that CIG are potentially going to release in a beta phase. So what you guys are looking at behind me is the Galactic Transit Network. This was, I believe it was made by a member of the community. I will leave a link to this map in the video description so you guys can take a look at it for yourselves. But I want to use it to kind of speculate on what those first 5 systems could be. Okay, so let's pretend for a second that Squadron 42 is getting a release date later this year, okay? And if the rumor is to be true, let's say that the Persistent Universe gets a release date later in 2025, let's say around CitizenCon. So Squadron 42, roughly around CitizenCon this year, and the Persistent Universe beta, again, I don't think it's going to get a full release in 2025. So let's, be more realistic and say beta. And the Persistent Universe beta in around CitizenCon or IAE 2025. Okay, so this kind of gives us this buffer window between the 2 releases that CIG can use to market both games individually. And the reason why I say that's important is because of the content that we will be getting from Squadron 42 that will kind of trickle down into the Persistent Universe. So if we look at this map here, we can see right here in the Terra Nexus is Stanton. Okay, so in the legend down here, I'll kind of go over this first so we know what we're looking at. So this is unclaimed, this symbol right here. This symbol means developed. This symbol is Jian. This symbol is Vanduul. And this symbol is Banu. And then this blue symbol is UEE. Okay, so there is no Terran territories because the Terran were absorbed by the UEE. So if you see any UEE systems, you're more than likely to find Terran in those systems. Okay, so there are only Banu, Vanduul, Xi'an, and UEE star systems, but of course, again, the Terran are not going to be listed up on here because they don't have their own dedicated star systems. Okay, so all of these blue circles here, these are all UEE control systems, and Stanton, even though it is owned by it, even though the planets are owned by independent corporations, the star system is owned by the UEE. So the UEE owns the Stanton star system, and they sold the planets to private corporations. So these private corporations pay taxes to the UEE for the planets that they own, just like any other major landowners. But of course, these corporations are so rich that doing that makes sense to them. Okay, so again, the Stanton system is a UEE controlled star system. Okay, so the next star system that is essentially being released to the game that we know of because we've played it, is Pyro, with the Pyro Playground. So as you guys can see here, Stanton and Pyro are connected by this medium jump point. So with the lines down here, this solid blue line, that's a large jump point. This kind of broken up blue line, that is a medium jump point, and these small dashes, that's a small jump point. Okay, so I don't know how exactly CIG is going to do the transition with the jump points, if they're going to maintain in lore that the jump point between Stanton and Pyro is a medium jump point, or if they're just going to change that and make the jump point between Pyro and Stanton a full-size jump point. I don't know yet. But as of right now, the jump point between Stanton and Pyro is a medium one. Okay, this is kind of relevant in my opinion, because for right now, Pyro is kind of the center point to the other star systems that we're kind of going to be getting, in my personal opinion. So if they were to maintain this as a medium jump point, that would restrict the amount of expansion that could happen. Okay, so there are kind of two scenarios here. If CIG decides to maintain the jump point between Stanton and Pyro as a medium jump point, that would mean that they would need to open up the jump point to another star system that's neighboring Stanton, either Magnus or Terra, so they can start building out star systems that are connected to it. Okay, again, if you look at the star systems that CIG does have in development, we have Stanton, we kind of have Pyro, we know about Nyx, we've had Levski in the past, and then we know Odin is in Squadron 42. So that's a pretty simple straight line. Okay, Stanton to Pyro, then Pyro has another medium jump point to Nyx, and then Nyx has a full-size jump point to Odin. Okay, so this pathway of travel is pretty straightforward. Medium jump point to medium jump point to full-size jump point. Now, if CIG wants to change the way that works and just make it a full-size jump point all the way to all of these star systems, it kind of doesn't matter, because you can open up the next star systems to any of the star systems that are around it, because Nyx especially has a lot of jump points. Okay, Nyx goes to Bremen, Nyx goes to Virgil, Nyx goes to this one, Toy, you know. So Nyx has a lot of jump points, Pyro has a lot of jump points. Again, Pyro goes to Nyx, Pyro goes to Castra, Pyro goes to Terra and Hadron, Pyro also goes to Cano, Pyro also goes to Oso. So you have a lot of different jumping off ports from Pyro, but the only full-size jump point you have from Pyro is to Castra. So the rest of them are medium and small jump points. So if CIG wants to change the size, the way that they handle jump points, that kind of opens up the door to, you know, Pyro basically being the center jumping off point to the game. Okay, that would definitely make Pyro a much more important star system. But Pyro is a star system that we already know that we're getting. Okay, and then Nyx, I would say, is also another star system that we already know that we're getting. CIG has shown off a lot of images from Nyx. We know what the planets look like. And then, of course, Odin is where Squadron 42 takes place. So now, if CIG releases Squadron 42, let's say, you know, Citizen Con this year, that gives players about a year to play through Squadron 42. And that way, when, again, this is all speculation, if, you know, the beta is released during Citizen Con 2025, then that would give players about a year to play Squadron 42, and you know, they won't have to run into spoilers or any Easter eggs that would be in Odin when it gets added to the persistent universe. But to me, it's it's pretty logical. I know some people are saying that Odin might not get added. I know some people are saying that it will be Magnus and Terra, but again, Odin will be already done because of Squadron 42, so it makes sense. Now, a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about was Leia and Vega. So Vega is going to be in Squadron 42 in some capacity because Vega is essentially the star system that the Vanduul attack. So at the beginning of Squadron 42, um, the Vanduul attack the Vega system and essentially wreck it. The planets, there is that kind of famous sequence in the vertical slice where Commander Bishop or Gary Oldman's character is standing on top of a building watching a city burn that's lit on fire. I believe that takes place in Vega. Okay, and then at the opening scene where you see all of the ships defending, I believe that that fight also takes place in Vega. And then there's another sequence in Squadron 42 where your character is talking to a female character that works on the ship, and it's kind of an emotional moment. She's asking your character, how did you handle what happened in Vega? So a lot of events, there are a lot of references to Vega in Squadron 42, and there more likely will be a lot of scenes and things that happen in Vega in Squadron 42. But the thing is, Vega isn't directly connected to Nyx. You do have to go through the Bremen system. Okay, all of these jump points don't lead directly to Vega. Nyx kind of bypasses and goes straight to Virgil, which is a Vanduul controlled star system. So I don't think CIG is really going to be focused on bringing in any of the Vanduul systems. So right now, the blocker from the Vega system being added to the persistent universe is the Bremen system. So even though major aspects of the Vega system will be completed for Squadron 42, I don't think the Vega system is the 5th star system. Again, you have to go through the Bremen system from Nyx to get to Vega. So I don't think Vega will be far off from future star systems that CIG add to the game. To me, I think it would make sense in the future for CIG to add Bremen and then Vega, back to back, because there'll also be a lot of content with Vega, because again, Vega is a system that the Vanduul regularly attack. It's not a system that the Vanduul own, but it's just a system that the Vanduul attack. So there could be a lot of missions in Vega to help the UEE defend the star system. That could come with a ton of content. My personal opinion, I don't think it's something that CIG is going to do right away, but I think it's something that is a lot closer than them adding the Croshaw system, for instance. I think that the next 5 systems after the first 5 systems would probably include Bremen and Vega. Okay, but for the first 5 systems we're talking about here, we're kind of ruling out star systems that they won't add for that 5th system. So again, we know we have Stanton, we know they're adding Pyro, we know they're adding Nyx, we know they're adding Odin, okay, because Odin is fleshed out with Squadron 42. So those first 4 systems are kind of locked in my personal opinion. It just makes sense because they're all connected. But looking at the connections here, we could see kind of what they would do next. The next star system that we know that they have that's pretty fleshed out, again, is the Leia star system. We saw the planet tech from the Leia star system, I believe, in the 2016 CitizenCon demo. This is the Sandworm demo, where they showed off a lot of Leia 3, the planet, the water, all of that stuff. Again, this is something they're probably going to need to update a lot, but it's something they could be doing in the background, we don't know yet. Again, this was just one planet, and the way they did things back then was a little bit different than they do things now. So, more than likely for that demo, there wasn't a whole star system involved. They just generated a planet. Uh, it they had it in an empty star system, and they just flew around the surface of the planet, kind of showing gameplay and different things that they've hoped to have added in. Okay, again, the Sandworm demo was very scripted. It was not, just somebody playing the game. It was a thing that was supposed to happen like that. So, in terms of layer, I think the only thing that they have really fleshed out for the layer system is probably 1 or 2 planets. So I don't think it will be next up. So I'm going to rule it out, even though there's some work done on it. We could rule it out because, again, it is so far away from anything that we can jump to. And I don't think CIG is going to, give us, make a situation where, you just jump straight to Leia from Stanton or something like that. We know that the intention is to kind of maintain this galactic transit network because the jump points that they have already put in the game. We have Stanton, and the Stanton system has 3 jump points: Magnus, Terra, and Pyro. So we know that they are maintaining this transit network. Again, we don't know if they are maintaining the jump point sizes, but we know that they are maintaining the connections between the star systems. Okay, so the next thing that a lot of people are probably speculating on, again, is Magnus and Terra. Okay, Magnus and Terra are directly connected to Stanton. A lot of people are speculating that these will be the next star systems because of their proximity to Stanton. They are large jump points. They are UEE controlled. Right now, the front runner is Terra for a couple of reasons. Okay, Terra is, again, it has a lot of jump points. So to be able to kind of future-proof things, you can go to Hadron, all of these systems around here. The Terra Nexus kind of is a main part of this corridor that connects, to the Sol Nexus with all of the star systems in the main, circle of star systems in Star Citizen's universe. Okay, so having the ability to access all of these jump points kind of makes it easy for CIG to pick the next star systems that comes online. But the same can really be said for Magnus, because Magnus is connected to Ellis, Killian, and all of these systems that will eventually lead to Sol. Okay, and that's important because instead of going up through Nyx and Pyro to get to all of these star systems up here, you can kind of make your way towards Leia and some of the Banu controlled systems, some of the unclaimed systems, some of the developing systems. So it kind of makes more sense to open up Magnus because, again, you have a lot more star systems on this side than you have on this side. But again, Terra, I think, is kind of the front runner because it would be a lot easier to kind of start on this side than this side. But again, it's kind of really 50-50 here because Magnus would more than likely be an easier system to do. It has less planets. I believe it has, a similar amount of landing zones on it. But again, they're both UEE control systems. They're both high security systems. Magnus is the star system that Drake Interplanetary is based out of. And of course, Terra is probably going to be the hub. Now, again, I think Terra is kind of the front runner in this situation because more than likely they're going to want to introduce a very high security system for new players. So when the game is released, you have a star system that's completely locked down. There's you don't have to worry about you- uh, rampant PvP and griefing all that stuff. The loss system is a lot more stringent than even Stanton, because Stanton is a star system that's still a little bit difficult, for new players. Um, I believe Terra would probably be a little bit more secure. Um, when it comes to piracy and all that kind of stuff. And again, you have unclaimed star systems like Pyro and Nyx that will kind of be a free for all. They're lawless star systems. And then you have Odin, which is it is a UEE controlled star system, but it is similar to Vega in that, Odin has the coil and more than likely has some confrontations in it from Squadron 42. So I think that you know they're going to want a star system that is a lot easier for new players. So again, you might start in Terra, then go to Stanton, then go to Pyro, and then from Pyro, Nyx, and Odin. Okay, so as a new player, that's kind of your, progression. As even though Odin will be a high security star system, you're probably gonna run into not pirates, but Vanduul, and the same thing could probably be said for Bremen and Vega. You might have more conflict in this star system. Again, and the missions there might be a lot more difficult. So your progression system through these different star systems, again, nothing's going to stop you from going from Terra to Odin as a new player. Again, it's just something that will be physically hard to do. Okay. Uh, when it comes to Magnus, again, this is a former military star system that Drake Planetary is now based out of. I think if CIG was going to deliver just 5, I think they would choose Terra over Magnus. But if they were going to release 6, I think they would include Magnus in that equation. Now, again, I don't think they are going to prioritize Magnus over Odin. I do think we're going to get Odin as the 4th system, and more than likely Terra as the 5th system. But this is a really cool map. It gives us a good look at all of the star systems in the Star Citizen universe. And of course, there's a ton of lore on all of these star systems. And it's pretty interesting. I do think that another aspect of the leak was that when the Persistent Universe releases in beta, again, I'll say it, in beta, it is going to have story content not unsimilar to Squadron 42, where it'll be like a 10 to 20 hour experience. That is kind of an interesting concept. Personally, I don't think it's necessary. I think there are a lot of people that want Star Citizen to be more RPG like, more game like, and I think that Star Citizen, in my again, this is just my personal opinion, is a lot better as a sandbox. Um, I think that you run into the problem where you're relying too much on developer content, and that definitely happens with these larger MMOs like WoW and Destiny 2, where by the time a new player gets into it, there's just so much stuff that they have to go through that it turns a lot of new players off. And again, Star Citizen has been in development for a long time. It's like 11 years at this point. So you have people who have a 11-year head start on you. I mean, the benefit of Star Citizen is that it is a sandbox and that there aren't any RPG elements. So essentially, as a new player, you can jump in and, after a few weeks of playing and practicing, you could be as good as somebody who's been playing the game for a decade. That's not the case in MMOs like WoW and Destiny 2, where as a new player, there's a lot of catching up to do. Again, I think that is really the power and longevity of Star Citizen, whereas those MMOs aren't really growing anymore. They're just kind of, placating their existing player base. Star Citizen continues to grow because even though it might seem like it's not a very approachable to a new player, it honestly is. Okay, but the thing is, if you add in a lot of story content, a lot of expansions that people have to get accustomed to, that kind of changes that dynamic a little bit, because there are hard barriers for people trying to get into Star Citizen because of PC requirements. Okay, and it's one of those games that takes a very long time. Again, in Destiny 2 and WoW, traveling is tough, but it's not as tough as it is in Star Citizen, with elevator times and hangar times and traveling in your ship times, all taking a very long time. That adds to that barrier of entry for a lot of new players and for a lot of people that just want quick gameplay. So if you add a lot of story elements on top of that, where you now need to, get involved in all of this other content, I feel like it is going to be more daunting for a new player 10, 15 years down the road. Because again, do we want Star Citizen to release and be popular for 5 years, and then it's one of those situations where there's just a core player base playing it and it's not growing? Or do we want, Star Citizen to grow exponentially? I think the reason why Star Citizen has such strong growth again is because of this lack of RPG element. It's a sandbox, so anybody can get in and really tackle it, and they can be whoever they want to be in the game. Again, if you add in a lot of that story content, I personally, I don't like all of this, mentality towards, making Star Citizen more RPG like, making Star Citizen more, like a general MMO. Again, in my personal opinion, CIG really sold this game as the game that would break the MMO mold. And recently they're just talking about more things that kind of rope it back into that very gamified, very, RPG MMO type thing. Talking about legendary armor and skills, and now they're talking about story campaign stuff. I don't think any of that stuff is necessary, and I think it will water down the original vision of this game that separates it from all of that gobbledygook that the industry is known for. Again, if you want an MMO like that, there are hundreds of them, literally. On Steam, multiplayer games, they're all over the place. They're very popular, okay? I think Star Citizen should be something that's different than that. And by releasing Star Systems as new sandboxes to play in, I think that's all you need as an expansion. So you have the 5 starter Star Systems, and let's say, okay, you unlock Bremen and Vega, and maybe you unlock Magnus and Ellis, and maybe you unlock Castra. So the first 5 star systems could be Stanton, Terra, Pyro, Nyx, and Odin. The second 5 star systems could be Bremen, Vega, Castra, Magnus, and Ellis. Okay, those would be very good star systems to add, because again, you have a good mixture of, with Bremen and Vega, of slightly contested star systems, and then you have peaceful star systems, Castra, Ellis, and Magnus. Okay, so I think releasing different star systems on, I don't know, maybe a star system every other year or something like that, that will add in enough content for the community to expand out into these places. And again, at that point, the technology will, continue to expand with silver meshing, making it more viable to have, multiple players, multiple thousands of players on a single instance. So I think that story content, not a fan of it. Again, we're gonna have to see how that goes. If that rumor is true, if we have to play 20 hours of some story at when we enter the game. The thing is, I don't want it to be like a situation where it's like, oh, pick your backstory, your parents are from, Nexus or something like that, and I want the player base to come up with that stuff for their own personal characters. I don't want that to be like a, drop down list, kind of how Starfield was. I don't want that. I don't think that's necessary. I think that's messy. Okay. Keep the vision clear, concise, and straightforward, to the point. This is a sandbox. These are different star systems. You could be whoever you want. Just go explore. I think the main backbone that this game needs is an economy, player-based economy. Once we get that, the floodgates are going to open. Okay. This story stuff, not a fan of it. But let me know what you guys think. I've been rambling on here long enough. You guys know how I am. I can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I'm going to, I don't want to take up any more of you guys' time. But I do want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below. What is the first 5 systems that you guys think Star Citizen is going to add to the game? What do you think of CIG adding more story content into the game? Do you want it to be a, sandpark MMO? There are different, labels for this stuff. Theme park MMO, sandbox MMO, sandpark MMO. Right now it's a sandbox, but if they add more story content, it might become like sandpark. This hybrid system. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I really want to hear from you guys. But yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me. Like I always say at the end of these videos, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salute!